So, first of all, happy St. Patrick's Day. Welcome to this last session of our 2021 workshop. As Sarah said, my name is Aidan Adkins. I'm the chair of the Solihull Prostate Cancer Support Group, a job that I couldn't do without the help of a lot of people that enable the monthly meeting to take place. So thank you to those colleagues on the session today. We've heard so far about how to build awareness of our groups, how to best use digital technology, what alternative offers of support would look like. This last session is now for all of us really to focus on the future of our individual groups to ensure that we enable support. If you like, it's a call to arms following the 2 days that we've spent together. An Indian author, or the Indian author Arundhati Roy, has written recently that historically pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It's a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. I think that many of us are having conversations around the dinner table, around Zoom calls, or on the phone with our friends, or on those one-to-one picnics that we're possibly having at the moment, about what our own future world is going to look like. What are we going to start doing? What are we going to stop doing? What are we going to carry on doing? We're talking more about the environment, thanks to David Attenborough perhaps. Remote working, we hear about it all the time. Remote medical appointments, are they here to stay? Public transportation, increasing traffic, cycle lanes, mass events, sanitization, vaccination passports, the changing high streets, the use of cash, spending more time outdoors, public toilets, the list goes on. So this session is your opportunity to pause, to reflect, and to come back stronger, to reset, rebuild, reignite your group. It's your opportunity to shape your group's future. So hopefully you've picked up by now, we're not alone with this. We have each other. Thanks to Tackle and Prostate Cancer UK, we're not operating in total isolation. William Gibson, a science fiction author, once said, "The future is already here. It's just not very evenly distributed." And I think we've heard from examples from other groups where some are already doing what your group might decide to do in your future, and we can learn from each other. So let's imagine it's a year from now. It's March 2022. You've had this opportunity to reset, to rebuild, to reignite. What then are your support group answers to these questions going to be? What do you do? Who do you do it for? When and how do you do it? And who are your key partners? And then think about, what does success look like? Who will actually define success? Who's the judges of it? How will you measure it? And will data be the judge of your success? So let's take it one step at a time. So as a support group, what do we do? The fundamental nature of a peer support group is it provides information. It's not just written information, it's that lived experience information where people who've been through the experience can talk to you about it. It provides emotional support, and that's a hard thing to actually quantify. How does that happen? It happens by just being in a room of people that have had that same experience, recognizing that you're not alone on this journey. Providing affirmational support, that means that there's people around that give you the confidence that you can get through this, you've got this. And then some groups, we've heard already that they provide buddy support, that support to treatment decision-making process that's so early on in the diagnosis journey. Then there's some groups that may want to do fundraising. Some groups may not want to do fundraising, but what we might see in the future is that we don't want to handle cash anymore. So perhaps we speak to the local solicitors and get them to pay for the venue, pay for the insurance, etc., etc. So can we get some sponsorship for our events? Then there's awareness raising. This missing 8,600 men that haven't come forward with a diagnosis that we hear about from Prostate Cancer UK. Then there are groups that doing PSA testing events. Is that in your group's future as well? Then are we providing a valued social experience? Is that what people are actually coming for? Is that what they want? Is that something that can be offered? And we've heard about partner support from Caroline. And then something I'm painfully obvious, experienced with is that we have we have members that unfortunately pass away, and are we there for the families? Then increasingly we're seeing now there's a kind of a need, a demand, if you like, for us to be a little bit more campaigning. The Abiraterone campaign, should we be a little bit more of an activist group as well, even if it's just making sure that we've got patient representatives at the local GPs, at the local hospitals? Is that something we should have in our future? Then organised exercise activity. We hear time and time again about the importance of exercise, prehabilitation, rehabilitation. Is that something? And then anything else that, please put it in the chat if there's something else there that could be offered there. Now, obviously we can't do all of this, and Michael Porter, a business guru and strategy, said that sometimes the essence of a strategy is actually choosing what not to do. And then sometimes it's actually, partnering with someone who can do that with you. We'll talk a little bit more about key partners later in the presentation. So then the next question is that again, we're talking about resetting, rebuilding, reigniting. Who do we do it for? Now, I always envy Alan at the Isle of Wight. He has a very clear boundary about his geography. It's the Isle of Wight. So here in Solihull Support Group, there aren't many neighbouring support groups, and we have people travelling from Malvern, from Wolverhampton, all over the place. And how important is geography anymore in a digital world? But do you want to get a stronger alignment with an NHS trust, a GP practice? We're seeing a pattern of GP practices bundling up, forming alliances. And then you see the map there. It's the West Midlands Cancer Alliance. That these are organisations that you may know about. That the organisation is already there, and you can, you've automatically got a network that you can tap into. And as I said before, is geography important anymore, particularly in a digital world? So who do we do it for? Is it the existing members only? And there's always a danger that you serve the existing members because they're the people that turn up. But what about all those new members, that big bit underneath the iceberg? And the big question for us all is, what's stopping new members joining? And who really has the answer to this? And I suspect the answer is really with the new members that don't join. And so perhaps we need to do a little bit of different kind of thinking. And so that's part of the challenge in the breakout room, going forward. How can we think a little bit more differently? So here's a quick challenge. Let's not think of them as members. Let's think of them as users of your support group service. It's slightly different, isn't it? So we heard Caroline talk about this as being a couple's disease. Absolutely, it is a couple's disease. So let's broaden it like that, broaden our thinking like that. So there's the new users. Are they newly diagnosed men and their partners? The 47,000 that we hear being diagnosed every year, or are they I don't know if it's 300, 400,000 of men living with and after prostate cancer in their patients that are trying to deal with the side effects and trying to cope with life after prostate cancer. And when we've got our catchment area, do we know what the numbers are in our catchment area? For us in Solihull, I've discovered recently, it was in 2019, it was 678 men were diagnosed with prostate cancer at our local University Hospitals Birmingham Trust. 678 men. So that's the kind of like the opportunity, if you like, of potential new users of our service. And then let's look at peer support itself. What exactly is peer support? It's fairly well defined in research papers now as assistance given by an individual who's considered equal. And I put it to you that the only person who decides whether they're equal or not is the person looking for the assistance. And effectively with a peer support group, it's someone who's diagnosed with prostate cancer turning up to meet a group of people who've previously been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Is that enough? We've heard about this already today. How important is gender? Can a man set up a partners group, or does that need to be, and again, this is a female partner, or does it need to be a female person setting that up? then age, generation. When I first went to the Solihull support group, I was 53, I'd just been diagnosed. Classic rabbit in the headlights. Oh my God, what's going on? Oh, there's this local support group. Thank God they're not working. They're not meeting in working hours. So that's an important point. So I can go along to that. And bearing in mind of the cancer research data showing that over 11,500 men diagnosed every year are of working age. So, you know, are you excluding them automatically because you're meeting during the day? So I went along to this meeting, and I, at the age of 53, working, and I just saw all of these old guys, and I thought, this isn't for me. I don't want to identify as being old. Fortunately, it was a very inclusive group. I automatically recognized people there, people that I'd worked with who'd previously retired, people that knew my father. And so, you know, it worked for me. And then, you know, other things, cancer stage, you know, is someone with a very early stage. You know, they meet with this bunch of people that have got a terminal cancer, and they think, oh, dude, no, not for me. Treatment type and recency, you know, different treatment types, different levels of recency. I heard that mentioned in a breakout room recently. Then there's race and there's culture. We've got the census going on at the moment. Fascinating to see that in the West Midlands that we have 13,997 people who identified at the last census as being Jedi Knights. So we have all sorts in the West Midlands. Then we've heard about the LGBTQ+. Then people on active surveillance. I think they've got particular needs, people on active surveillance, that you know, that perhaps aren't catered for by a standard group. And then there's different hobbies, sports, pastimes, whether it's golf, whether it's cycling, whether it's being a Villa fan or not. You know, so is our group representative of our catchment population? And then, you know, interestingly, it was in 1922 that Henry Ford said you can have a car, you know, any kind of car you like, as long as it's black. And that was the early age of mass production. There was one standard, and since then there's been this massive segmentation, lots of different offerings. So perhaps think about your support group offering as being, yes, you've got a group, but there has always been the people that just make the phone call. They're not joiners. They don't want to go to a group meeting, but they're more than happy to have a conversation with you, whether it's on the buddy scheme or phoning through, looking for information. Then what we're seeing now with the advent of Zoom, we've got virtual users that are dialing in from, you know, different countries even perhaps. Then we've got the classic people that come along for a short period of time to help them make the decision, the newly diagnosed. As I said before, the unique group of active surveillance, and then lots of different treatment types. And you see one of those different boxes there is a different color. And maybe it's because it's a group that's associated with you that you've set up, but it's online. A great example recently that's been formed is the brachytherapy group that Andrew Gabriel has set up. And then we have possible satellite groups. You know, maybe it's a walking group, a group that just go walking, or Harley Davidson owners. I don't know. And as Simon mentioned in the last breakout room, you know, these satellite groups, they just need to be co-produced. You know, just give people the space within your group to say, you know, you know, how about a group for golfers? And remember, it only takes, I don't know, is it 2 people to start a group, or is it 3 people? 2-3 golfers, and they just start forming that you know, that larger group under the larger umbrella of your group. So is this the time that we move away from the one size fits all to have a number of different little offerings within our group? I mentioned before passive users. So this is an interesting diagram from the social media work, and it recognizes that, you know, on any social media site there are 3 categories of people. There are the creators, the heavy contributors, the 1%, and there are commenters, the intermittent contributors, and then there's this huge passive majority, huge passive majority, rather unfortunately called lurkers, but they're there. They're not actively involved. We send out an email from our group every month, and it goes through MailChimp, and that means that you can actually see how many people have actually opened it. And every month, only about 70% openings happen every month. And when it came to Christmas, we decided to send everyone a Christmas card. And I thought, oh, we don't have to send everyone a Christmas card. There's this 30% who never actually open the email. We don't have to send them a Christmas card. And so I did a little bit of analysis, and I noticed actually it's not the same 30% that don't open the email. Every month, it's just someone different that doesn't open the email. So that reminded me of this big passive majority that people still want to get the email, they still want to get the newsletter, but they don't necessarily want to come to the meeting, whether it's Zoom or face-to-face meetings. So they want to stay on the list. So don't forget those passive users. I mentioned earlier about when looking at what you do and what you don't do, perhaps you just work with key partners. And this is an example for the Solihull support group. We don't write our information. We get that from Prostate Cancer UK. We get it from TACA. We get it from the local NHS trust. Fundraising, we don't do that, but we have a couple in our group, Peter and Sharon Constable. And you can see Peter there wearing both a Prostate Cancer UK badge and a TACA badge. And they are fantastic at fundraising. They have an annual ball that they get loads of people to, and they raise a huge amount of money for PSA testing, and they give some to the group as well. That's what they do. That's what they're good at. Then new member recruitment, we absolutely rely on our local CNSs. We rely on Richard, Andy, Nuala, and Emily, our local CNSs, to provide those 678 people that they see every year with information about the support groups. And whether they choose to use us or not is entirely up to them. Then there's the GP surgeries, the supermarkets, the community leaders, and local media as well, that they help us with the new member recruitment. We don't do PSA testing, but our local Lions do. And we work with them. We sometimes give them a little bit of money, but we always have an awareness stand. We help communicate the event. So we don't do it ourselves, we partner. And then setting up special interest or satellite groups. I love the idea of prostate peddlers. And it's a bit too far to cycle to join the one down south, but maybe I can work with some local groups, the Warwickshire group, the Coventry group, the Kidderminster group, some local groups to set up a special interest or satellite group of, for instance, cyclists or whatever the demand is there. Remember, you only need 3 people to start that. So the big question is, what new partnerships are needed? What partnerships have we got, but just need a little bit of strengthening going forward? So who are our key partners? Remember, everyone has to go to a watering hole somewhere, lions and zebras there side by side. So where can you find those new users? For the supermarkets, there's the boxes of tenner on the shelves there. That's a QR code. If you get your smartphone out, the camera app, you photograph that, it takes you straight through to our website. So that's using a little bit of new technology, working with the supermarkets. Maybe they put a little business card. Maybe you put a sticker on the tenner pack, or just say, hey, here's your local support group. Scan this and you'll get our website. Everyone needs a haircut. Our local barbers do a special offer on a Tuesday and a Wednesday for retired persons. So maybe that's an opportunity to sit in there, work with the barbers, catching people as they come through, whether it's awareness or whether it's new members. So lots of opportunities out there that some group are doing somewhere. So let's share those ideas. So the next steps really are, hear about the great examples from your friends within this network, whether it's in the chat, whether it's in the breakout rooms, and then please commit to doing something, taking some kind of action. So now we've got this great golden opportunity, and I'll use the words of Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs, a very familiar voice on Thought for the Day, who unfortunately died in November 2020. But in May 2020, he had this thought for the day. He said, when war or disease affects all of us, you learn to care for all of us. I hope that's what happens now, that we build a fairer society where human values count as much as economic ones. We've been through too much simply to go back to where we were. We have to rescue some blessing from the curse, some hope from the pain. So please take this opportunity to pause, reflect, come back stronger, to reset, rebuild, reignite, to shape your group's future. So thank you.